My first console was the Sega Master System. I got this when I was, I think, 11. I think that puts us at around 1980, late 80s. I know that much. I'm a 79 kid, so it gets kind of few. I don't know. Anyway, the Master System was my very first console. My parents were kind of reluctant to give me any game consoles because, at the time, like I said, it's late 80s. And Nintendo, of course, repopularized video gaming back in the mid 80s. And so by the late 80s, parents had the idea that, oh, well, this might be turning our once intelligent, socializing kids into video zombies. And I understand that concern. My parents certainly felt that. But they did kind of, they didn't cave, but they swayed with me. They bent a little bit and indeed purchased for me my very first console, which was Sega's Master System. I got it from a kid who went to the same church for $20. $20. It came with, I think, four games. And they were excellent. I really enjoyed them. Thunderblade was top notch, very difficult. Alex Kidd in Miracle World, fantastic cartridge, really holds up today. You'll find that also on your Wii Virtual Console, and it's really an excellent thing. In terms of the culture and times, I was going to church as a youngster. I didn't do that as I aged. That just kind of stopped when I was about 13 or 14. So a lot of my life was, I was very young at this point, and that meant that I wasn't so into albums yet in terms of music. I was very much a radio head. I was very into radio. We had a station in Arizona, Tucson, called KRQ, and that's what I listened to. And so when I think of the music of the time, I certainly, I think of Belle Biv DeVoe, Paula Abdul, Jodeci, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. That was back when the LA Lakers were just huge and kicking it. The Arizona Wildcats in Tucson were just huge. That was before we got our pros out to San Antonio, in the case of Sean Elliott, and also Steve Kerr over to Ohio. Anyway, it was a big time for sports when I was a youngster. That was back when I think we all caught word that Magic Johnson was indeed diagnosed with HIV. That was tough. I remember that. As for movies, I was a youngster, so I'm thinking Back to the Future. I'm thinking, I believe Raiders of the Lost Ark. I know I saw that. That was probably released a little earlier, but that was my dad's favorite of the series. So Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters. I don't know if these movies. Again, I'm telling you what I experienced personally, and I don't know how much these were of that period per se, but that's certainly what I watched. Games that are worth checking out on the Master System. Of course, I want to make this as brief as possible because I can go on. But games worth checking out on the Master System, and the reason I'm doing this is because retro gaming is becoming bigger and bigger, and games are becoming more and more accessible for fewer dollars. And so I think it's important to look at this responsibly. So it's important to keep in mind that the Master System always has, and probably, always will, play second fiddle to Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. It just will. That is not to say that it doesn't have an important library that's worth considering. Like I said, Alex Kidd in Miracle World was a wonderful, I consider, compatriot to the Super Mario Brothers series, and it also had a number of games that really made an interesting move for what turned out to be Nintendo's greatest competitor in the following 16-bit war, and that would be, kind of the arcade translation. Sega was big into arcade translations for the Master System and also clearly for the Genesis/Mega Drive. And I think one thing, a lot of people go to Phantasy Star, which is an important Sega Master System game, but that is not the only reason to pick up the machine. Really, do pick it up for the Alex Kids, do pick it up for Columns, the best version of Columns, and in my top 5 puzzle games ever. Competitive 2-player, cooperative 2-player, I said, yes. Definitely worth doing. And in 1988-89, when I played the first puzzle game that was 2-player competitive, wow. Now, I know Tetris permitted this kind of gameplay on the Game Boy, but on the Nintendo version, certainly not. So this kind of blew my mind. Really, really impressive. Now, of course, in 2008 terms, in modern terms, it's cool to be able to look back at something like Phantasy Star and think, that's interesting. It doesn't look particularly hot, and there are games now that really outshine it, frankly. But it's neat to kind of see that Phantasy Star games, or Phantasy Star entitled and certainly infused games are still being released. Phantasy Star Online for the Sega Dreamcast, of course, was the first online console RPG ever. Excuse me. Persistent World kind of situation. That happened on consoles first on the Dreamcast, and that was certainly kind of a spiritual offshoot. I wouldn't say success, but a spiritual offshoot of Phantasy Star. And you know, this kind of dates back. This kind of gives the Master System relevance even in today's world, because Phantasy Star Online is basically still alive and well on the PS2, Xbox 360, I think, and coming soon to the DS. So it's worth looking at as a machine that really, I think largely, its purpose is it really primed Sega to be the underdog that was constantly nipping at the heels of Nintendo. This was the beginning of that urge to topple top dog. And the Master System had a rough haul, but it's absolutely worth checking out. Absolutely worth checking out.